Today, Phillip Ullmann joins William and Richard, co-founders of the Swan project. Despite over 40 pubs closing every month due to inflation and the cost of living crisis in the UK, they have done more than just keep their pub alive. They've built an entire community-driven school, football club and brewery. This is their story.
Let me ask you this question. I think a lot about the problems society is facing. And what I've come across, and I'm interested in testing on you, is there's three things that I think need to be changed. I'm interested in whether they resonate with you. The first thing is that in society that we live in, people are forced to behave in a certain way. It's coercive, yeah? And I think from what you said, in a school, they haven't got time. It sounds very similar to I do TV work, and I'm on a TV channel, and I'm given 6 minutes to get across a message, which would take hours, because that's all the stuff. They work transactionally. They've got eight minutes or 6 minutes to get the message across. And I think that's what this coercion, this force sounds to me. You tell me, I'm asking you, Richard, do you feel that coercion and forcing is part of the problem that society is facing, and that what you're describing is a move away from forcing people to behave in a certain way?
I think coercion is quite a strong word. I think it's not difficult to coerce somebody who's riddled with fear. Yeah, and I think there's a lot of fear or anxiety. Let's call it anxiety about getting things wrong, about making mistakes, and I see that in the young people. And actually, if you tackle that, when you unpick it in the leadership teams of businesses and schools, it's there. It's the same thing. It's just dressed up a little bit.
Coercive is probably too hard a word to use. I think but almost, this is the way we do it. We can't change.
Yeah.
And we're working within a framework, which is, rather than coercive, it limits the scope for people to use their initiative. Is that a better way of describing it?
We're lacking courage to break out of that framework, if you like. I mean, Will, you started your own business in this scenario, and it's been very successful. But it's not. There was no playbook, was there, for doing this, or perhaps for what I've done or what Will's done. If you're waiting for somebody to say this is how you do it, you won't do it. You've just got to start doing it and then make your own way. I mean, it's just having the confidence and the courage to do that. And you get that from other people. That's why working in collaboration.
I think that there's nothing unique about having a school, but you've developed it in a unique way. And similarly, there's no shortage of breweries, but there are things that we've done to develop it in a particular way, and gives it some uniqueness in some of the community stuff and sustainability stuff that we operate with.
It's one of the differences. We talked about education. We could talk about this for hours and hours. I'd love to, but let's move back to the pub. What is different? If you were going to say that, what are the main differences between the experience and the way this pub operates to the way other pubs, perhaps not even community pubs, other pubs would operate?
I think the first thing that people would see is a warmth when they come in here, and that's driven probably mainly by the volunteers who work in and around here, and the different activities they do here. And it seeks to this enter as strangers, lead as friends philosophy, we think of inclusivity as being an absolute important value for us. Everybody pays the same here. We don't have discount. Everybody, we try to be totally inclusive in just how we welcome different people in.
It's a warm atmosphere. Is there an atmosphere in the pub?
It's a warm atmosphere, yeah, and that's. Actually, that in itself is attractive. It gets people want to come here. So I think that's so. I mean, obviously we're trying to make a surplus to invest to improve it all the time, and so that means it's as I say, it's economically quite a difficult place to run just now, but. It's the community that makes it run, and it's the clubs that get involved too that make it special.
what I think is exceptional with what you just said is, say you are driven not to make a profit for the shareholders. In fact, you said they recognizing they're not going to make a profit, but are they happy? Are they happy despite the fact they're not going to get a 8.5% return?
The shareholders don't want a dividend. They do it because they want a community pub in their area that they own and feel part of, you know. And we see that from the fact that, you know, when we sell shares, people buy them, even though, you know, they know they're not going to be able to sell from anything more. Why would you do it otherwise? You know?
I get asked this question the whole time because my own understanding is what the model you describe of community interest company is the only model, as far as I understand, that will ever work. People ask me, Philip, if you're not making huge amounts of money, why would anybody do it? What would you say to that?
Well, I think that, you know, if you want to run a commercial business, and purely as a commercial business, you certainly wouldn't choose community interest company as a structure because it has restrictions which are quite difficult to work with. On the other hand, if you want to be a charity, you wouldn't be a community interest company either because it's not a charity and you don't get the benefits of being a charity. But where it scores is allows people to invest in a social enterprise in a way that they can get a fair return on that. Whereas, you know, in other models, they wouldn't necessarily be able to do that. So, you know, plainly, the school and the brewery had to invest in this place to make it work. And therefore, we had to make sure that those entities were going to get a commercial return out of it, you know, but a fair one based on what they say and do, you know.
But at the moment, they haven't got a return yet.
Well, they both get a return in different ways. The Greenham School, because it uses this as a place for its business, and the brewery because it sells beer here. So they get a return through the working of the place, if you like. And what we believe is that actually over time, as we build this place up, that people might want to sell their shares for more than it's worth, and you know, who knows in the future.
But it's interesting what you say, because at the moment people haven't quibbled about the fact that you haven't paid a dividend, which to me is suggesting that they're happy with the purpose that you've created, which is to actually meet the needs of a community, which is a place where they can become friends, where they can, from what you describe, also have lots of clubs and learn French or whatever Warhammer is, play the games. And they haven't quibbled, from what you're describing, from the fact that they haven't got a dividend.
No, well, I think we tend to think that they get dividends in kind. And the dividend in kind they get is a place to bring their family and friends or where they feel a warm welcome.
I think what you're saying is almost evidence. It's almost, I don't, for my own thoughts, think there can be two purposes for an organisation. It confuses you. When you're making decisions as a leader, both of you, are you there to make profit and to make a dividend? And you must be or are you there to meet the needs of, in your case, the kids, in your case, the pub? I can't, in my own mind, find a way of achieving two different purposes.
But you have to manage compromise quite often in this. You know, in the brewery, we speak of managing the business to a triple bottom line.
Yes. And
on the one hand, you know, we've got shareholders who we owe a commercial return to. On the other hand, we've got the community, and we recognise that we've got to make sure it's all community-minded. And the third thing is sustainability, and we think of it as profit, people, planet, and all those things have got to take a part in decision making.
So we described the warmth of the pub. What other distinguishing features would you suggest there are in terms of the Swan compared to another pub?
Multitude of different community groups, and therefore the activities they bring.
Is that unique? Do you think there's anybody that's doing that, or not many?
I mean, lots of pubs have different groups attached to them. I think that we particularly make a mission out of it, you know, and we make sure we provide good facilities for people to be able to do that, you know. So there's you know, we have the Cycle Hub. Windsor Cycle Hub is arranged as a charity and are based out of here and take over the place on a Saturday morning. Ukulele band, bridge club, book club, modern, language groups, Warhammer, all these groups.
I think it's important that once you start something like this and you give them the platform for that, the energy that has taken to launch this, which was huge. If we go back to sort of 2018, when we were trawling around the banks trying to get a mortgage and getting signatories and all this sort of stuff. Once you've done that, it's the combined energy of everyone. So, if we put it, this looks the way it does because we put out for volunteers it was looking a bit tatty. Like every time we've done work on this place, it's been volunteers who've stepped up, brought, scraped wallpaper off, put a brush to it, like painted the bar and, created the bar, in fact. And everything here has been done with community energy. So, and then when they're in for the Chatty Cafe, which, the Chatty Cafe started with 2 people sat on that table on a Friday morning just waiting for strangers to come and join them. And you've got to be consistent and have faith in humans, really. And we didn't stop doing it, even when nobody would turn up. And after about 3 months, a couple of people turned up, and then 6, and then 8. If you come here on a Friday now at midday, the whole pub is full of chatters.
It's remarkable, yeah. It's built up.
It's incredible. We put on sandwiches and coffee and whatever. And then from that group, then other groups like, they find out that you have a connection you want to learn. The French-speaking group came out of that because it transpired around the table that a few people would like to learn French, and one of the ladies who runs Chatty speaks French. So then another group was created. And then from that, we have the University of the Third Age here doing Mahjong. We have people who like stitching, and they created all the cushions and the upholstery in here. It's done by volunteers around a table, stitching the thing. It doesn't really matter what you're doing. I think it's important that we are that diverse, that you can do Warhammer and you can do stitching, and it's not just a cribbage team, darts team.
No.
It's not just your standard pub stuff. It's got to be diverse because it's led by the people who come here. We're not putting on all these events and saying, who wants to do Mahjong? Somebody's come to us and gone, I'd like to do Mahjong.
I think it's an important point. I mean, they're not here because of anything that Rich and I have done. It's because the community has created an environment where people take responsibility for stuff they want to organise and do here.